What is going on in Appalachia is a perfect example of the fact of how the federal government does not serve you, that they will abandon you at every single turn and in the end act as if they care so much about your suffering, meanwhile only morally grandstanding atop the fact of the dead bodies that they are quite literally mounting their foot upon so they can give the speech about the nobility of their performative greatness. And this is exactly what we saw happen in Maui with the complete and utter travesty of seeing Lahaina burn to the ground. Many of these people losing their lives, so many of which children, which we have no idea what happened to, and there are no independent investigations as to what could have happened to so many of these young kids. But what we do know is that the people within Maui, well, the federal government had their back. And thankfully, we know that they were going to subsidize them and take care of them in any way that they could. And that's why the federal government made sure to give them nothing more than $700 one-time checks. That's right. That's what we're dealing with. And sadly, we're seeing similar sentiments echoed in North Carolina now with the people who are suffering from the complete and utter calamity that Hurricane Helene has visited upon them. Well, they're now getting nothing more than $750 one-time checks from the federal government. Isn't that incredible? FEMA also stating that they have no ability to assist so many of these people caught within the disaster zone, but isn't that the entirety of the point for your existence? FEMA also stating that people should not be assisting individuals who are caught within this degree of calamity that has unfurled, effectively not putting themselves into harm's way, but FEMA also not wanting to put them own selves into harm's way. So this is quite interesting to see, especially when you consider the nature of what is also going on with bureaucrats and state officials as well as state troopers claiming what? That if you were to assist these individuals by ferrying resources to them or going into these cordoned off zones that we as the federal government have now deemed federal land, then by all means you will be persecuted and arrested for these apparent crimes of trying to help your fellow citizens. Of course, we won't actually help them. The people we'll help are the ones who are steaming in across the border, and then we'll also send billions of dollars abroad to go assist in foreign conflicts to make sure that we can fuel endless wars to fund the military-industrial complex. But God forbid we assist the poor people of Appalachia. No. What we need to focus on is making sure that we can send billions of dollars abroad to places like Ukraine and Israel. Oh, and also, FEMA has now announced that they do not have the funds to assist these people within Appalachia to make sure that they actually have resources to counter the disaster that has fallen upon them. And why is that? Well, it's because they said that their monetary pools are depleted. And why might that be? Well, the rumors that are circulating within officials within the government that are leaking things to the press, they're talking about the fact of how apparently, you see, so much of these resources that FEMA would use to counter things like a natural disaster, they've been using to counter and shift the dynamic of the immigration crisis, because by all means that is absolutely a disaster and must be handled. So once again, we see the federal government providing another highlighted, glowing, neon sign of an example to show you that they do not serve you, they do not care about you, and they will never care about the suffering of you or your loved ones. All they care about is the standards of control which they deem most necessary. So now let's jump in and prove more examples of exactly that. And first off, we'll be throwing it into this clip of this young man speaking with Jesse Waters, who has come to the realization that so many of us need to come to, that when we're talking about the fact of the federal government and the government as a whole, it's us versus them. That is it. This is the conflict, and only when coming to this realization will you truly be able to analyze the landscape in its totality in the fashion that you must to actualize a future that can create true prosperity. Now let's go ahead and throw it into that clip.
It's too late. I mean, they took too long. They had it took them 5 days to get here, and I mean, it took 5 days for Biden to come here, and he didn't think we were worth coming down to see us himself. He had to fly over on his way to Raleigh. It's disgraceful. I mean, they keep saying we the people. No, there is no we the people. It's them versus us. So they're not for us. It's all about them. They tell us what we need instead of listening to us.
You can hear the sorrow in his voice as he talks about the fact that they were too late, they took too long, They don't care about us. They only care about their own interests. It's us versus them, which is the understanding that so many need to come to when it comes to analyzing politics. And the thing is that we saw that not only is it insulting as we see the fact of the lack of care being shown, but also in the minute amounts that have been given to them. So let's just go ahead and regale our thoughts of what we saw in the past with the Maui travesty, with Joe Biden giving $700 to Maui fire victims, and this was sparking backlash considered to be insulting, and that is exactly what we see within the current era. And also there were rumors going around that the current administration was going to be giving $750 to each person within this affected area. And the thing that I found most intriguing about this is how the fact checks started to roll out and claim, no, this isn't true. The government would never do something that would be so insulting and so detached from reality. This is so far removed from the nature of something that would truly curry favor with individuals in the time of an election. And yet here we see, once again, it's proof that they do not actually care about you. And you can just jump on here to this article here from Newsweek, a new one, in fact, and you can see fact check. Did Kamala Harris offer Hurricane Helene victims $750? And it wasn't Kamala Harris specifically, but here's the thing that I would love to address with the framing of this article, and specifically how the corporate press is operating, and then you think back of how they've been talking about Kamala Harris in conjunction with Joe Biden and certain actions that are happening with this administration. You'll realize this. They've been framing Kamala Harris like she's already the current president. And here you can see, did Kamala Harris offer Hurricane Helene victims $750? Why wouldn't it be Joe Biden? Why wouldn't it be the Biden administration? They're so focused on putting Kamala Harris to the forefront because they're trying to use her as the battering ram to shove us into the next phase of American politics. And the next thing that I find most intriguing about all of this would truly be the fundamentals of how it is that individuals on the ground would be trying to make change to help people in a time of crisis. Because when we had Hurricane Harvey here in Houston, it was an absolute calamity. There was flooding everywhere. There were people that died, homes filled with water to the brim up to the roof line. It was absolutely horrific. There were people in old folks' homes that were dying, trees falling on homes, crushing people to death. So much travesty. And what did we see? The community come together and rally around each other to assist each other. And that's something that's crucial to focus on, that you see happen many of the times around the world, no matter the people, as long as you see nature attacking man, you always see man rallying around the cause of coming together to fight against nature. And that's what you saw with so many people within that of Appalachia itself, doing what they can to conjure resources to give to so many people that are now in turmoil. And here's the deal. Many of those people that are trying to do the right thing, well, they're now actually being persecuted. Here we see from the Hill, pilot flying Helene rescue missions in North Carolina threatened with arrest. This is not an exaggeration. Not only was he threatened with arrest from a police officer and a state trooper, but bureaucrats also claiming that people trying to intervene and assist individuals who are in need of help, well, you're very well only going to be making things astronomically worse, and thus you can be arrested and detained because of that fact. That is what we're dealing with. It is us versus them. Absolutely and utterly insane. If you would like to understand this story and its minutia in totality, link in the description down below. You'll be able to go find this article. It is well worth your time. This is a great story. I think it is phenomenal. Let's go ahead now and move on and see what else we have. Because apparently, Hurricane Helene victims under the Biden-Harris team have said that FEMA is lacking cash. Isn't that something? So FEMA doesn't have the resources to help these people, but FEMA's also been one of the actual organizations that are assisting in the ferrying of migrants and the funneling of resources to make sure that they can have what they need to, let's say, disseminate them across the United States and bolster them in whatever communities it is that they're putting them up in. So we can make sure that we're funding endless wars abroad and funding endless flow of illegal immigrants into the country and then abandon the citizenry which we claim to care about. And in the process, once you see that citizenry that we claim to care about hit by a travesty that Mother Nature has unfolded upon them, we will then say that we don't have the resources, and many of those people within the upper echelon of the Washington, D.C. elite that are then talking in the back channels to the corporate press are claiming that apparently many of the reasons that we don't have these resources is because we've used them to fund things like the illegal immigration crisis. So not only do we see that they're abandoning the citizenry, but also we have the Federal Reserve. We could just print money as we've done endlessly to the tune of, I don't know, no negative downstream effects as has been claimed by the federal government as they consistently ram us to the tune of $35 trillion in debt. Absolutely unbelievable. So they have the ability to quite literally print money out of thin air and provide value in the moment and sustainability in the moment, which they'll gladly do to fund weapons contractors to give them profits to make sure that we can fund endless wars, but they won't do it to take care of you. Isn't that just remarkable? Now let's go ahead and throw it into this clip of a perfect example of the fact that the government and its apparatchiks, like the police officers, do not serve you, as we see that people within Appalachia are now being pressed by police officers and threatened with arrest for simply trying to conjure the remains of their destroyed homes.
Look, I'm just saying.
We are working the goddamn law
I'm not
this time
talking
of
here.
bitch.
Step over here just so people don't amp you up, all right? So, again, I get it. You guys got told by her. She gave me instructions to come talk to you guys. That you guys have already gotten ample amount of time. I don't know what she told you. I'm giving you guys a warning. That's it. Just please back up and leave. That's literally it.
Do you see us trying to get our
no,
stuff?
I got you. I don't know what you guys been doing. Again, this is
I did.
yeah, that's perfectly fine. Again, I don't know what you guys been doing. I'm just giving you guys a warning that we're trying to get people through. So if I have to come back out over here, like, I don't know, like, the jail is processing, all right? That's it. That's the last
So
report.
so you're going to take us to jail.
Come here. Look, I'm not taking you to jail.
You're threatening to take me to jail for trying to get our stuff off our property so the crackheads don't get it, right?
You calling Karen School? Hey, Mike.
No, no.
But there are technical meetings right now. You guys
And so they are packing up to leave, is that correct?
That's something where I gave them the warning.
Alright, well, as long as you give them a warning, go ahead and go out to those parks, and if we need to get another officer out here once we get to the next shift, then we'll deal with it then.
You heard?
Thank you.
You heard?
Yeah, I heard her.
So you can be upset all you want. I'm giving you guys a warning. I get it. You guys upset. I'm giving you guys a warning that if they have to come back out here, they probably have to escalate from there.
I guess they got to escalate it then.
Okay.
Because we're trying to get our shit. But you know what?
Absolutely and utterly despicable on the side of this cop, acting as nothing more than the teeth of the state and an unflinching, unfeeling, brainless zealot for the regime of which he is nothing more than a foot soldier for, as he is simply doing his job, you see, which, as we understand through the Nuremberg trials, was proven to be a felonious bullshit excuse for you to be operating as a tyrant, which is exactly what he is acting as when he tells this woman that is sifting through the remains of her home that if he has to return, that she will be arrested and that he's only going to be giving her a warning for now. Absolutely and utterly despicable, but not as despicable as what we have seen come out of FEMA, or the lack of actions out of FEMA, I should say, because what we understand is their main form of communication with the people on the ground. It hasn't been by having people actually show up to assist and help the people who are suffering, delivering them resources, helping with shifting around, making sure the town can be salvaged and reconstructed in any way, shape, or form so people can move around properly, hopefully finding individuals who may be stuck under rubble, maybe animals who have been trapped. Who knows? Maybe bodies that have yet to be discovered that no longer hold life within them. But the thing is, FEMA isn't going to do any of that. What they're going to do is put out posts on social media like you see here on Twitter. There has been a lot of rumors spreading about the Helene response. Rumors can create confusion and prevent people from getting assistance they need. Help us share accurate information. Oh, The degree with which my blood boils when I read something like this is unbelievable. And here we scroll down just once, here we see from DC Drano, rumor, FEMA is completely failing the people of North Carolina and Tennessee. Fact check, fucking true. And then here you see from Viva Fry, first, just answer the question as to whether or not FEMA and DHS spent $640 million on illegals. Second, think about the utility of tweeting when many of the people affected by Hurricane Helene aren't getting internet. Seems like you're just tweeting to save face and not to serve the community of the people that are suffering. And yes, that is absolutely true. And you did not hear that incorrectly, and I did not misread that. That is $640 million to assist with illegals from FEMA and the DHS, but they won't be doing anything anywhere near that to assist the poor people that are suffering within North Carolina and Tennessee. And if you think this is an exaggeration, well, you could look no further than to the actual posts and announcements from the government on their own websites to show that this funding is absolutely true. But of course, the funding that is most true, necessary, and vital in the moment to take care of the suffering citizenry of the United States, that will not arrive. But it will arrive to the shores of whatever place is necessary to fund the shifting dynamic of these migrants as they are ferried across the United States. Now let's go ahead and throw it into those examples. What do we have here? From the Department of Homeland Security's website, here we see DHS announces distribution of more than $77 million in congressional funding for communities receiving migrants. Oh, would you look at that? August 21st, 2023. Jumping on now, here we see from the DHS once again, Department of Homeland Security announces distribution of more than $12 million in funding for communities receiving migrants. Date, September 27th, 2023. Jumping on now to FEMA, here we see Department of Homeland Security announces $300 million in direct funding to communities receiving migrants and $340 million for a new competitive awards process. August 12th, 2024. Now on to FEMA once again. FEMA has announced $117 million for emergency food and shelter programs to fight hunger and homelessness. April 22nd, 2024. Isn't that just incredible? Now on to the next one we see from the DHS once more. Department of Homeland Security announces $380 million in additional funding to communities receiving migrants. August 28th, 2024. And now here we see from Politico, New York City to get $104.6 million from FEMA for asylum seekers. And the thing that I find most intriguing about this, it's that we can understand where it is that these resources are going, and we can apparently track them properly because they're giving these people prepaid cards, and we understand how much they're spending and where they're spending it. And not only that, we're able to properly apparently allocate resources to make sure that we're subsidizing their housing and their ascension throughout the economy. So it makes you wonder, why is it that we can't get resources to a place like Appalachia that's been hit with a natural disaster, and why is it taking a week to simply get things like bottles of water there? It truly is quite intriguing, and it makes you wonder, are the people within the federal government actually serving me, a citizen of the country that I live within? No, of course not. And here's the thing that I find most unfucking real about this, is that many of the truckers who would be sitting there available to make large amounts of profit, as they would certainly do so because it is an ability for them to rake in buku bucks through overtime, we can see that they're not being hailed, they're not being called in, and in fact, many of the resources that they are to be delivering to places like the ones suffering in North Carolina and Tennessee, Appalachia, you see, which is already one of the poorest, if not the most poorest parts of the country, well, those resources are being diverted to cities that are sanctuary cities so we can give resources to migrant facilities. I'm not exaggerating. This is serious. This is not a joke. This is actually happening. Now let's go ahead and throw it into a man himself who is someone who has been on the job in the trucking industry for quite some time, who has also been documenting his travels across the country, stating that he has never seen anything like this and that something seems quite suspicious.
The people in North Carolina, you deserve to hear this. I'm a truck driver, all right? I have a 53-foot step deck. I've been trucking for about 2.5 years. I have a YouTube channel. You can verify that on Babyline Hotshot. Usually in a disaster situation, it is payday for truckers. We look for that hurricane. We look for that ice storm. There's generators coming to you. There's stuff coming out of military bases. There's excavators, skid steers, bulldozers, tree trimming equipment, pumps, like water pumps to pump water out of places that have been flooded. There's no loads on the load board coming to you within 125 miles of Asheville. It's called Truck Stop. This is where I find all my loads. Chicago, Illinois, up at the top. Within 250 miles of Chicago is where I'm gonna pick up. The second is the destination. So it goes origin, destination, watch. See, drop-off location. Let's do city, North Carolina. Click it, boom. All right. These are all $1.40 a mile loads, $1.39. That was posted yesterday. I mean, there's nothing. There's nothing. These are loads that you wouldn't even, nobody's taking them. They're just on the load board. They've been on there since yesterday. You can see, right? Let's type in a different city. That's from Chicago. Maybe Tennessee, maybe Nashville is closer and they'd send resources from Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville, Tennessee, within 250 miles of Nashville to Asheville, North Carolina, within 125 miles. Let's see, that's it. That's all the loads. That's all the loads that are 28,000 pounds in. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I mean, what the hell is going on here? I had brokers call me and tell me, Stu, have you seen any loads going to Asheville or like anywhere around the Carolinas, South Carolina, Georgia? Is there any like FEMA loads? There's none. Zero. He's been a broker for 6 years. And he's talking to other brokers. They're saying the same thing. What's going on, guys?
You know what's so stunning about that video? That it's not the only one. That there's a wide array of different people from a host of different fields of expertise that are doing what? Stating similar things, and many of these people, well, they're actually independent contractors that work under contracts that are attached to things like, I don't know, the control of the federal government. And what we see is that they're waiting for orders, and none of which have been given. People within a host of different fields that should be getting called into the front lines are not getting anything. And because of this fact, it should highlight that they don't care about the suffering of the people within America itself. All they care about is making sure they can extend their control abroad and manipulate the scales of power, and in doing so, they will consistently abandon you at every single turn. And you need to look no further than what we've gone over with the consistent funding as we see for illegal immigrants and the consistent abandonment of the American people itself. And the thing is, you may just think I'm sitting here spitballing, talking shit about the government, that I'm asserting nonsensical, felonious things. Well, here's the deal. I wish that was the case. I wish it was the fact that the federal government was really working hard behind the scenes to make sure they're helping all these people, but here's the deal. That's just not the case. And you can look no further than the whistleblowers that have come out speaking to people in Congress, speaking behind the scenes, that are claiming what? That apparently local, state, and federal officials, well, they're not doing anything, and in fact, they're going out of their way to subvert the people that are actually trying to help individuals on the ground. And we can see this happening in real time, and all you have to do is look to what's going on with the bureaucrats and the police officers that are pressuring citizens that are trying to make sure that they can salvage the remains of the homes that they once lived in that have been destroyed. And then if anyone else is trying to come in and actually help these people by, I don't know, flying a helicopter in, helping people leave an area in which they're trapped in, maybe ferry resources in so you can help someone who hasn't had food and water for days, well, you're then being threatened with the possibility of arrest and persecution by that of the law and the federal government. That's what we're dealing with. Now let's go ahead and jump into this document from Congressman Matt Gaetz to the Honorable Alejandro Mayorkas, and we'll see exactly what's going on here. Dear Secretary Mayorkas, yesterday you stated that the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, which is part of your department, does not have enough funds to make it through the hurricane season. This news comes after FEMA has spent hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars on migrants due to border czar Kamala Harris's open border instead of prioritizing funding for Americans impacted by disasters. My office has been in contact with whistleblowers in numerous emergency management functions at the federal, state, and local levels, and they all point to the same critical mismanagement issues. FEMA has wasted taxpayer funds and misappropriated funds and left other federal, state, and local respondents without deployment orders on the ground. As reported and further confirmed by my office, hundreds if not thousands of service members were deployed by the Department of Defense to North Carolina and have sat idle, waiting for FEMA. We have confirmed FEMA employees deployed on the clock waiting orders in hotels. FEMA pre-disaster aid, which is withheld, exacerbating the emergency. It is also public that NGOs have purchased airline tickets for migrants through the use of FEMA funds. The aftermath of Hurricane Helene is a major disaster, and your waste and unpreparedness are leaving Americans in distress, unable to access food, water, or medicine, and expecting help with none coming. Please provide answers to the following questions to my office by October 11th, 2024. 1. What policies and regulations of the Department of Homeland Security and FEMA prevent emergency funds from being wasted on illegal immigrants, including what conditions are placed on guarantees of the agency? 2. Of FEMA's total budget for the year of 2024, what portion of funds can be guaranteed to have been spent solely on American citizens, and what portion of funds was or may have been spent on non-citizens? 3. In year of 2024, what portion of funds in the Disaster Relief Fund have been spent on non-disaster relief programs such as providing services to illegal aliens or providing routine training to FEMA employees authorized out of general appropriations? Sincerely, Matt Gaetz. Absolutely infuriating, to say the least. But the thing that I would love to address here specifically would be, while I do appreciate Matt Gaetz and his approach to this and how direct he's tackling this, aiming it at Alejandro Mayorkas himself, here's what we need to tackle here. You're giving them till October 11th to get this information. Why are you giving them such an open time scale? Why are you not ramping up the pressure in mass, just like the pressure has been put on the people of Tennessee and North Carolina? It infuriates me to no fucking end when he's like, you know what, I'll give you till October 11th. Me, a literal dundering dumbass babbling into the ether about the travesty of what has befallen the East Coast, was able to find the information from not only the DHS, but FEMA themselves that they put out. And you're telling me that you're willing to give them that much time, but I, a literal fucking fool, was able to find it in that small of amount of a time span that I've spent researching to find some of the data for this? Really, is that so? It's absolutely infuriating, the ineptitude of so many of these people within American politics, because they claim to stand for you. And in many ways, they may act as if they're doing so, and then think they're doing so. But even then, they don't actually put their knee to the fucking grindstone and address what really matters. And in many ways, Matt Gaetz fails to do so, just like we saw with the recent assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life, with Matt Gaetz fumbling the bag once again, claiming that apparently Iran is the big threat as to what could possibly be on the horizon to try and take Donald Trump off the board. Iran. Really. Not the fact of what's going on with the intelligence agencies. It couldn't be anything like that. No, it must be a foreign entity that the United States government has had the desire to overthrow for ages. Yeah, certainly. Just to go ahead and finish this off with something that pisses me off so much that it's honestly hard for even me to put to words, let's go ahead and throw it over to good old Kamala fucking Harris. Here we see Vice President Kamala Harris, just after it was announced that we did not have the money to assist with all of these people that will be suffering through hurricane season, we have this tweet from Kamala Harris. To the people of Lebanon facing an increasingly dire humanitarian situation, I am concerned about the security and well-being of civilians suffering in Lebanon and will continue to work and help meet the needs of civilians there. To that end, the United States will provide nearly $157 million in additional assistance to the people of Lebanon for essential needs such as food, shelter, water, protection, and sanitation to help those who have been displaced by the recent conflict. The additional support brings total U.S. assistance to Lebanon over the last year to over $385 million. Isn't that just something? So not only is it that we see that we're going to be giving Lebanon aid, but also the reason that Lebanon needs aid is because we're subsidizing Israel and giving them the capability to rain hellfire down upon this country. So we are once again subsidizing both sides of a war. And in doing so, what we see is the consistent and total abandonment of the American people. We'll gladly send another $157 million to Lebanon, but God forbid we drip feed any resources to the poor people of Appalachia. That is where we're at. That is what you're dealing with. They hate you, and you need to come to grips with it. Only then will you realize what the fight actually is. I'm going to go ahead and call it there. Thank you for watching. If you got this far, thumbs up. If you liked it, thumbs down. If you didn't, tell me where I'm wrong in the comment section down below. If you can, please go donate to people within Appalachia. If I remember, I will leave a GoFundMe link down below, but the thing is, every single GoFundMe that I keep seeing getting put up is getting stripped down because the federal government is making sure that they're effectively excommunicated into nothing, because they're stating that all of the different money and donations that should be going out should be going to FEMA, you see. The people who are doing nothing to assist those who are really suffering. I'm going to go ahead and call it there. Stay lovely, stay great, tell someone you love, and pray for the people of Appalachia. Peace out.